Alright, so we're working on the bucket cylinders for the 440 backhoe, and basically I got it all running, got everything working, filled it up with fluid, and I couldn't really lift dirt. I could lift the boom, but I couldn't lift the bucket, and I couldn't scoop any dirt or anything like that. It obviously drifted down really bad, so I thought it's probably the packings. So I looked in the book, and I've got those on order and they're on their way, but I'm going to show you kind of some of the stuff for taking these apart. The ring's actually pretty easy because it's pretty narrow, but you do definitely want to get a spanner wrench. You can pick these up. I got one, try to make sure they're pretty long, and I got one that would do, I think, from a 2-inch cylinder to a 4-inch cylinder, because some of them only go up to like just a 3-inch cylinder, so I thought might as well get a bigger one. They had longer handles and everything. But inside here there's a snap ring, and the book will show you that, and I can't really see that in any of the camera focus, but I'll show you it in a different one here in a second. But inside there's a snap ring, and so what you do is you leave the ring on for a little bit, and you just take a piece of 2x4 or something and a hammer, and you set it here and you tap this back, and it'll slide the inner packings away from the snap ring, so it makes it a little bit easier to take it out. This is the second one. I already have one apart, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is that snap ring that goes inside of that. Now that is what holds this in place. So you can see the threads where the ring goes, and so this slides in the end of that tube. It gets an O-ring around here, and it holds it inside the tube. So you take this apart. There's an O-ring inside there, and there's a couple wiper seals and stuff like this. Now I wasn't able to find. There's a cylinder rebuild kit online in the parts manual. I wasn't able to find that, so I had to order a lot of the seals and wipers and everything individually. So once you take it apart, this is what you have actually on the end of the rod. This is basically where your packing is. Now this goes, I have it backwards in my hand, but I tried to keep them together in the order that I took them off, so I made sure I put them back on in the same order. But essentially it will slide on and go pretty much just like that. I'll probably slide them back on here in a minute. But in between those, it will pin. You can see grooves inside of each one of these. And what it will do is pin a leather cup. And I looked for non-leather cups to see if anybody had a material that would not crumble to pieces like these did. I actually found a bunch of this material in the reservoir when I took it apart. I think I actually found most of these packings inside there. We've added a filter, so that should kind of help reduce that, but still my pressure relief valve is getting a lot of gunk in there, and I think a lot of it's coming from some of these packings that are bad, just circulating the stuff through the system now. One of the things that I was not able to find is this gasket. This is a copper gasket that when you run this down, you push up against that, and that's supposed to help seal that. I couldn't find that, so I'm going to have to take that off and take it to someplace and see if they can make me out one. You can tell mine, there's two different styles of cylinders. This one has a stop nut on it, but whoever had it before me decided that the stop nut was not sufficient, and so they welded all that, so I can't really take this rod end off mine, or at least I'm not going to without grinding it apart. So I'll take a little bit more. Once I take this one apart, I'll show you the inside of that, but that's basically what the cylinders look like, the insides of them, how they come apart. I didn't really find a whole lot of that on YouTube, so I thought I'd kind of post that. And really quick, here I'll pause and take you to the filter we added. So the 440's kind of out in a little bit of the weather. It's under a little bit of overhang, but so what we did is normally there's a filter that goes up in the bottom where the inlet comes in. There's usually a reservoir, but or a filter up in there, but these are a whole lot easier to change. So I went and Northern Tool had these. They're I think they go all up to 50 gallon per minute for this filter. But you can get this filter, and I made this little bracket, kind of whipped that up one weekend to mount it on the side of the thing here. So now I can easily take that filter assembly off. You have to do a little bit of fancy work with some of the valve stuff when you do that, but this is kind of how it wound up for me. I come in from the return. This is the return from the backhoe assembly. This is the return from the pressure release valve. Inside here there's a cartridge in this bottom. If it ever if all your whole system hydraulics ever fails, this is a really good place to start. This pressure release cartridge gets gummed up, gets junk in there, and doesn't like to work. So I came out of that, I took the plug out, and I put this pressure gauge in there. That's been really cool. I've been able to watch the system pressure when I'm kind of pulling down on stuff and seeing my pressure release cartridge has a broken spring in it. So technically I need to get that tracked down. So it's not going all the way up to the PSI it's supposed to. It's kind of falling off somewhere around 15 to 1200, somewhere in there a lot. But that's kind of the system I wound up with. Obviously I teed that into the selector switch for me, for the fronts and the backs. And that's it. So I'll take this other cylinder apart and post another video.